Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second session of the day. Today, we are going to be talking about decoration trends from around the world, and I'm very excited to have a very great lineup of guests for this. So, Ben Carroll from Australia is joining us once again.
Hey guys, how are you? Yes, if you missed the last session, I'm the managing director of Velflex down here in Australia. We've been going for 17 years in the heat transfer, heat print industry, and super excited to be a part of a global space and a global movement in such a hot topic at the moment. So yeah, excited to be here.
And we also have Jeremy Picker joining us today. So Jeremy, could you just give us a quick intro about yourself and the company that you're from?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Jeremy Picker. I'm with a company called Amber Creative, and I've been in custom apparel since the early 90s. I used to travel with bands for 10 years selling merch on the road, and my wife told me to get off. She thought I was just having too much fun. So I ended up starting my own business, and we are mainly a design firm, but we really focus on fashion forward development, and then we outsource everything to awesome print partners. So if you know any of my content, I love trends, I love Pinterest, I love all decoration techniques, and this is a perfect session. I talk about this for fun, so it's exciting to share it with all of you.
Thank you. And we also have Carlo Oviedo from Culture Studio. So Carlo, could you give us a little bit of a background about your background, what you're up to, and the thoughts you have on the decoration trends?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I wish I had as good of a camera and a setup as Jeremy has over here. So I have to apologize for that. It's an early morning here in Chicago. I'm slamming my coffee to give you guys the best I got. But yeah, thanks for the intro. My name is Carlo Oviedo with Culture Studio. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and a founding partner. We're based in Chicago, Illinois. That's where our headquarters is. And then we have a second facility in Daytona Beach, Florida. That's where we all get away from the Chicago winters. We head down to Florida. We are really, in a nutshell, we are in the music merch business. I'd say we're one of the biggest in the country now. We started 15 years ago, myself and three brothers. We now have a total of 140,000 square feet, over 300 employees, over 22 automatic presses. And we are just churning music merch all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are feeding the beast, event to event, stadium to stadium. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride. The music industry definitely comes with a lot of wild, crazy turn times and expectations, and that's really what our culture is all about. So it's not abnormal for us to do a same day production and put something on a custom critical plane and get it to wherever the venue needs to be, same day production. So really, if you ask my brother Joey, who handles all the production, what the schedule looks like a week from now, it's pretty empty. Nothing scheduled. So that's our world.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the intro. So today we want to really get home the message about making sure that you're always evolving what you're up to, because being able to jump on these trends at a moment's notice is everything. So that's why it's really important to kind of be quite nimble, being able to pivot to anything that comes along, but also kind of helping to stay on trend. And that's what's really important to follow along with likes of Jeremy and Carlo, because they're always going to be pushing the boundaries of what's next, what's coming up. So let's start by just talking a little bit about traditional techniques and trends that we're seeing worldwide. But Jeremy, if you could perhaps start us off with some of the decoration techniques that you tend to use as part of your business.
Yeah, we like to throw a wide net to kind of take in everything that's in retail. We take a trip to the mall every month, me and my team, and we go to every store and really find the unique things that some of these other brands are doing. Everything from Abercrombie to Nordstrom's and Levi's and PacSun, and we really want to find what are some of these brands that are paying millions of dollars for R&D and for trend forecasting that are maybe 2 years in advance. What can we take from them and then kind of pare it down for some of our customers? So how I ended up starting my business after I got off the road from the bands. I'm like, I made good money on the road. And then I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? Well, my brother connected me with a manufacturer that did all the R&D applique and embroidery for Hollister and Abercrombie. And so here I am making $10 an hour, cutting letters out of lasers and, taking the holes out of O's in the S's and all of that. And the whole time I'm kind of soaking this in. So I really loved that look, back in the early 2000s. And that's what we try to lead. That's how we really started the company. We wanted to bring this difficult decoration technique that back then lasers were really expensive. Most of it was overseas. And so we wanted to, how can we not just screen print everything? How can we bring in this embroidery and applique and specialty threads into it? So we like to push that. We always design and mock up for that, but not everyone can afford it. So what we really love to do is, we know the marketplace because we're studying the trends all the time. Then we get with our customer and pair it, like, who is their real audience? Because I like applique or, HD ink doesn't mean their audience is going to connect with it. So it's really a cat and mouse game of what is trending in the industry or the retail space and what can elevate that design, instead of having a whole line of just screen print, which in some cases it works. How can we switch it up? How can we add patches, labels, dyes and wash? I know Carlo does a lot of that there. And how can we really find that perfect merch line for their audience? And so we love specialty inks. We know all of them. We work with some awesome print partners. And so, just that little extra 50 cents that you add to bring a screen print to life or to give it some texture and some hand, that's what we really try to do. But we're doing it from the design process. We're not always, trying to, fit specialty inks in all the time. It has to fit, but we know that wearer is going to really appreciate that little extra touch, the inside neck tag, all of those things matter to the wearer. Everyone else might not be able to see it, but when they go to the closet, they're going to pick that shirt or that shirt. They're going to want that one that just has something a little extra. And so that's what we really like to approach. We're getting into heat transfers a lot. We love the silicone transfers and, a lot of the badges for hats, but, we want to integrate. We love multimedia. So, a nice tonal screen print in the back and then, adding a couple letters of applique on top. That's kind of our main route.
Brilliant. I think it's an important point you make there. It's always comes back around to what is the customer want. Obviously, you can have every tool going to make sure you can decorate this way, but it's ultimately what is the customer's going to give that feeling when they wear that shirt, when they pick it off the hanger, to really kind of have that special moment and take them back to that moment when they bought it or that experience that they had from it. So Carlo, could you tell us a little bit about how you go around searching for trends and finding out what's the latest things that you would recommend to your customers before they even know about them?
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with Jeremy as well, where if you take a look at the retail market, that's always a good place for inspiration. But for us, it's you've heard people say that fads and fashion, they make a 360, they come back around at some point. I'm seeing a lot of that right now. A lot of old fashioned things that used to be really hot and popular, 10 or 12 years ago. Things that I would say this will never come back, like rhinestones. Who would have thought? Who would have thought rhinestones were coming back? But here I am. I mean, we're getting so many artists and so many different brands asking for rhinestones, and it's true. These fashions and these trends, they come back around full circle. So I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of embellishments that clients want to elevate their logos. They want to elevate their product lines. So they can sell them for more, really. At the end of the day, I'm seeing a lot of clients wanting to get a better price point so that they can sell a higher priced product to their customers. I think that brings value. We're not doing much of the cheap stuff anymore, if you will. So yeah, I see a lot of stuff coming back around. Sometimes we'll be approached by customers and clients with the full product line already designed. and they'll give it to us and say, what can you do to bring this merch to life? What can you add to it to make it more valuable or make it more appealing to their customer base? So we'll take a look at someone's already final artwork, and we'll add different techniques and different additives like puff or anything that can raise the print a little bit. We'll do things like discharge underbase or discharge the background and put some gel ink over something, a part of the design that will bring it to life a little bit. So yeah, we're constantly trying to look at a piece of artwork, and even if the customer doesn't ask us, if we see something that, if we can add glow in the dark or something that will appear in the sunlight, there's all these cool techniques that are popping out now with inks. We'll give our recommendation, and I think that's one thing that is kind of a lost sight, is that even though a customer supplies their own artwork, why not take it a step further and give them a recommendation of what you think will bring this thing to life? And there's better margin there when you're adding specialty ink. So not only are you helping elevate that brand, you're adding a little more margin, a little more top line revenue to your order as well. But yeah, as far as trends, we're always out there looking at, we're kind of in a different position because we're dealing on the artist side and music, and they're always trendy. They're way above or way ahead of the game when it comes to trends. So we get a little bit of an inside peek to things that are coming down the pipeline. Also, I was going to mention oversized big prints. That's back as well. I know that we're currently modifying some of our Striker automatic machines to do all over prints. So again, back like 12 years ago, Chris Nottinger, Ed Hardy, all these huge, massive prints going over the sleeve, going over the neck collar. Who would have thought that was coming back? Here we are. We're doing that. People are wanting rhinestones on top of that. So I don't know if there's any Ed Hardy, Christian Audiger stock out there. We might want to buy some because insight.
And Ben, how about yourself? I know you've got your finger very much on the pulse of your customers in Australia. What some of the trends that you're starting to see come through? Is this being reflected in Australia too?
Yeah, 100%. And what Carlo was saying, like, it's so funny, we 17 years we've been a supplier to the printing industry, and things that we saw go out of date, like flock and puff and those sorts of things, they're coming back strong, right? Particularly puff. I never thought to myself how much puff would move in terms of product, because it's really quite a specialist sort of product, but people are starting to use that product as much as a standard vinyl. Like, they're doing big prints, right? Big letters across the back of jackets and hoodies and things like that. That, as Jeremy was saying, it's sort of like the touch and feel that people want now. It's not just a plain print that they want to stand out. Rhinestones are in that market space. There's some really cool mixing of products as well. So, if they're doing puff and a bit of rhinestone here and there or whatnot, that's what we're seeing in Australia. And we talk over the last 10 years, maybe, it's all been about digital and full color. Now that's been around for a good decade, it's now going back to sort of patterned colors and things like that, stuff that was really popular in the early or the 2000s, like even the 90s, but say the 2000s, patterns and things like that, layering patterns, yes, big prints, textures and things like that. That's what's really coming in, and it's exciting. We, as a supplier, obviously we've got to adapt to those trends. These are often specialty sort of products, and so we've ended up, you follow the trends, and that's what people are buying, and that's what they're doing. We've seen some really cool stuff by some clients as well. So
one of the things that I've noticed a lot with our UK, oh, brilliant, Jenna's joining us now as well.
Hey, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
Welcome.
We made it. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay, no problem. So Jeremy, one of the things that I've noticed in the UK a lot is, it seems to me that end wearers are starting to get a lot more clued up about the actual products now, in terms of where before you'd probably have to drive a lot of the information downwards. It seems to be coming both ways now. Is that something you've noticed in the US as well, in terms of quality and finish and the specifics of what they want with a product?
Yeah, the buyer from the 80s and 90s, they weren't as savvy as the buyers now. One, social media, even I love all these startup brands that I'm finding on TikTok that, they're really DIY. They have their own little press. They have a sewing machine, and they're really searching out all these techniques. There's this guy, his name is Blue Boy, and he just did a collaboration with True Religion. And this guy, he's just one artist, and he's pulling out all these really cool techniques into his merch line. And I really love seeing that, one, because we're trying to go the opposite end of, cheap and fast. We're wanting to really create that sustainable merch as far as long shelf life, not going straight to the thrift store. The brand in UK, my favorite brand is Super Dry, just because they take advantage of all those techniques. So a lot of their stuff, might be good price points to where more people get to see all those little details. The age of the Abercrombie, when they were doing just all the different techniques, I think people start to see that, and they can tell the difference between, a basic armored print versus, a soft print, or little patches and little labels. They really understand that it's worth the extra money for those type of garments. So I love it because people are coming and asking, they're looking at maybe our Instagram or something they see online and say, hey, can I get that? And we love that part because, we can all screen print and that probably pays the bills. But as a creative, the fulfillment side of things, I want to, see that garment in layers. We have the garment, we have the design, and then how can we use that decoration technique to really bring it to life? And so that whole holistic part, a lot of people, they just leave it at good design and put it on a nice Bella canvas shirt, which is good, but it's up to us to help our clients see that as well. A lot of the times, we become order takers, which is, it happens just because things are moving so fast. But like Carlos said, when you can see something and spot it and help your client, and then when they start getting all the good feedback from their audience, that's really going to help them, and then they're going to really trust you. And a lot of that, you're going to have to figure out, how do I take this that, maybe me and Carla might like to do, as a hobby, and translate it to all of our staff, because it's no good if it's all up here, because I can't touch every project. So how do we, use our staff creating that trend analysis and the mood board, so everyone in that organization, when they see a customer's design come through, or when they're, needing some new graphics, you already have that in your mental library, so you can pull from, and knowing that if you just add a little special touch here and there, that end buyer is going to love it and they're going to keep it. And that's really the goal, that we're not going to go, to the thrift store 3 months later and see that thing there.
So we just had a question in around any trends on the location of prints. Perhaps, Carla, would you mind taking this one for us? Some advice for Angelique.
Sure. Any trends in the location of the prints? Yeah, I think sleeve prints are huge right now. So we're doing long sleeve prints on anything that's long sleeve. But when I saw that question pop up, it made me think about a project that I'm working on right now for Paul McCartney. And it has 13 print locations. Wow. Mind blowing. 13 print locations. It's shoulder, sleeve, embroidery, screen print, digital squeegee on one side. And it's literally 13 different locations, meaning that has to come off the press 13 different times to be set up. So is that a trend? I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of projects at that number of locations, but multiple locations is a trend for sure. The 4-color front print of merch, just one position, is no longer. I think that has to do with the perceived value as well. The more positions, the higher you can charge, and the higher we can charge. So I'm seeing a lot of things like that. We just released a hoodie, a custom hoodie that we created ourselves without that we removed the pocket, no front pocket on a pullover hood. There's a couple pieces out there that other brands have, like Threadfast, Just Hoods, but we just created one as well. It's I believe it's a 10-ounce hoodie, but we don't have to print over that big seam on the pocket anymore, which we all know we have those disclaimers on our websites or when we're selling that to customers, say, yeah, we can print over the pocket, but there'll be some imperfections, to say the least. So no sending these back. You get what you buy on that. But yeah, we've removed the pocket on there. So we're seeing a lot of oversized type stuff. We'll even print on the hood. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, as far as locations, more is better.
Brilliant. And just, you mentioned Paul McCartney there, and I was wondering, for anyone that's, new or growing with their business, what advice would you have for the people that are attending when it comes to communicating to some of these bigger clients or new clients that they might take on, when it comes to, how you might advise them to go about talking about trends with their customers?
Speaking to trends with the customers, well, I think the customers really appreciate as much communication as possible, and I always like to say that, it's not a customer vendor relationship anymore. We actually sit at the table with our clients. We all should take that approach. Don't just cut us a purchase order and tell us to shut up and print. Let us be a part of the design. Let us be a part of the product development. And when we're a part of it, and I think all of us that sit in the same position, we all can say that the end product is much better when we're part of the process. And let's hear about what the demographic is. Let us hear about what the customer expectation is. And the more we know about that, the more we're involved, even from a design perspective, the more we understand who the customer is, the better we can assist in what trend, what product, what garment, what technique will help. So I think the more involved we are from the start in communicating, the better we can help guide the process.
And for you, Jeremy, is there like a single question that you always would recommend asking a client whenever they come in? It's like, if I can get an answer to this, I can start to unlock their thinking and understand where they're going to be coming from.
Yeah. What is your goal for it? Are you retailing it? Are you giving it away? Is it part of a, digital marketing strategy? That determines a lot, just that one question. And so figuring out that you're going to be able to even just set the costing, because, they might, we want $6 shirts. And I'm like, well, that's not going to do your marketing strategy any good. No one's going to wear that. Maybe if they're ordering thousands and thousands and it's really specialty, but I think like Carlos said, getting in and doing more, they can go down the street, probably get the shirt printed cheaper, but what else? When we deliver that product, that's just the start of the merchandise journey. So how do we get our claws beyond that? How can we help them have ideas? My background in vending merchandise, on the road, I can now help my client figure out, how do you set up your booth? How can you distribute these shirts if you're giving them away, or if you're selling them? If you're selling them, you got to get your price tags, get some mannequins, organize the shirts nicely, have a good display. And so the more you can show them beyond, well, yeah, I'm giving you the product, but then what else? What else is that person down the street giving you? Is we're using all of our expertise from all of our clients to help you. And most of us in this industry, we're not going to be charging for that extra consultation. It's in our benefit that we're going to get reorders. We don't want that client stuck with leftover inventory. So how can we help them along and really show them, we know more than just printing shirts. We know how to sell them. We know how to retail them. How can you take that phygital, where you're taking that physical product and shooting back to a digital landing page, or, for music from, some exclusive EP or something like that. So just that one question really can help you set up to having 3 or 4 ideas to help that customer. If the demographic is so important, I like to say, I know the marketplace, but your specific client. And how do we take that information, pair it with what we're seeing, what people are spending their hard-earned money in retail, and then give it to their project, whether they're cool or fashion forward or not. That client or that end consumer, they're still paying money to shop at certain stores. So how can we fall in line, not only with the quality, but that's something that builds that client's brand long-term.
Excellent. So one of the other things I kind of wanted to to talk about here is actually, as well as the ask. Oh, we've got a question coming. Let's go with this one first then. It's from Niall. Any advice on how to link with influencers? I'm not looking to get the likes of Ronaldo, etc., but I want to get my brand to people who need to see it. So perhaps a little bit of guerrilla marketing. Any tips and tricks that you both had when you're first starting to come up in the industry that you tried to get in front of people, get in front of influencers with? Do you want to take this one, Carlo?
Yeah, I can jump in. Yeah. I really haven't worked with influencers much myself. If you have a brand, of your own, that's probably definitely a way to go, especially with social media right now. We kind of like to be in the backstage, the background ourselves. We like to be the power behind the brand. So we're not really out there in front selling as much. We're kind of behind the scenes a bit. But if you had a brand yourself, I mean, there are so many different avenues to kind of connect and get your brand out there. But yeah, I don't know, Jeremy, do you work with any influencers and things of that nature?
Yeah, some. A lot of it is just helping people. They're not necessarily my customer, but just people that do work with influencers a lot. And I mean, the biggest thing is DM thousands of people. Like people, they try to overthink it. And if you come up with a little strategy, and I see it a lot on TikTok, of just a little box with, a shirt and a couple items, and people will, you don't want to target the mega influencers because you're not going to be able to afford getting them to talk about your brand. Find those ones that might have, 10 to 50,000 followers, to where, they might get some financial sponsorship, but everyone loves free stuff when it's good, I guess. And so being able to DM people and just say, hey, this is my brand. I think you would fit well with it. I'm going to send you a free gift pack. Would love if you can share it with your audience. I think there's so many things to do that don't cost money other than time, which if you're a startup brand, that's your sweat equity is part of you growing your brand. So you just getting out there, in-person events. One of my clients, he used to be an employee and now he has his own clothing brand that's in every REI across the country. And this guy goes to every little, flea market and event and, beer festival. And he's out there hustling and, just meeting people and talking to people. And the amount his brand has grown over the last 5 years, he attributes it all to that in-person meeting people in the community. I'm more of a recluse. So for a brand, I want to build it all online. I do go out and meet people sometimes, but this is my comfort zone here in my office, my little cave. And so I think it's a different route for everyone. If you, get social anxiety and, you don't like going out in public, that's not the only route. Figure out what works for you and just don't be afraid of no, because you're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. And, when it comes to influencers, there's a lot of ego involved. So how do you learn to support that ego and make them feel good and look good? And at the end of the day, it builds your brand.
Okay. So we have a question here as well about what do you see as the best upcoming platforms for selling? And a question about TikTok as well. So in terms of platforms for getting sort of own brand stuff and your clients' brands onto different platforms, is there any recommendations of platforms that you see are particularly growing over the last year or two, and things that you see for the future as well?
Yeah, I'm still kind of old school. I haven't even adopted TikTok yet, so I'm kind of an old school nerd on that aspect. But there's no denying that platform has a massive reach. I think you have to look at it two ways: capturing demand and creating demand. And creating demand on these platforms, whether it's Instagram, I guess Facebook is still out there doing some things, or even if it's live events, like Jeremy, you're saying, get out there and looking people in the eye and actually telling your story, getting people excited about your brand. That's you can't even put a number on that. But yeah, I mean, TikTok and any of these social media platforms are going to be great for creating demand. And then, we do a lot of work with Shopify as far as the back end, and that's a great platform to capture the demand. We just did a launch last week, and it was a pre-sale model where you put a timer on the website. It goes live for, it could be 1 day, it could be 2 day, it could be a week. And it's a pre-sale model, and you're really capturing that demand. You're getting customers ready to buy. And then, the timer keeps ticking down, and there might be 2 hours left, and you're trying to capture as much demand as you possibly can. In that platform, this launch that we did was thousands and thousands of pieces, and it went off seamlessly. There's no crashing of the website. All the credit card transactions were going through, and Shopify for that matter was an incredible platform for that scale. So yeah, creating demand through any social media platform you can, and then having a way to capture it after. Those are two things that have really good synergy.
Yeah.
Okay. Just going back to the question regarding influencers or brands and how to talk to them. Jenny, you deal with bringing everyone together as from the STAHLS perspective, Jeremy and Carlo today, and some of the blanks companies. So if you've got any advice perhaps for people who are kind of a little bit nervous about start having those initial conversations and how they could get past that and get started.
You can't be afraid to slide in the DM. No, but seriously, it really is about communication, getting people excited. You want to see who resonates with your brand well. So if you have a good vision of, what your mission statement is, what you're hoping to achieve with your brand and your custom printing business, and people that align with that well and will represent that brand well, then those are the types of people that you want to reach out to. You just don't want any random person that just has a lot of followers, because you want them to care about the product that you're giving them. So that's what I look for whenever I'm connecting with people in the industry, is who cares, right? Who's passionate about it, because that's going to be the easy conversation. You guys are going to be comfortable discussing these things together and coming up with ideas together and really creating a relationship. So that's really what it boils down to, is creating a good, solid foundation in what you're looking for and building those relationships out. But more than anything, it is about communicating and not being afraid to just say, hey, what's up? I love what you're doing. How can we partner? Is there stuff we can collaborate on? And go from there. If they say no, they say no, but don't stop trying. No can mean just not right now, so keep going. Don't give up on it. But yeah, that's my advice.
And I look, and touching on that, and I know, Jenny, you just said, like, give it a go and get out there. I can testify, and I know we're all talking on camera right now and we're freely sort of chatting away, but certainly when I started my business 17 years ago, I remember, even when the phone rang, my heart would race and my voice would go squeaky, and I'd be chatting and just answering, a general question about opening hours, and I'd be running out of breath, I'd be short, I'd forget to breathe and stuff like that. It is about just giving it a go, right? If you have a business, if you want to sell t-shirts, or you want to sell product, or you believe in your business, we all started scared. We were all nervous and anxious about either whether it's talking in front of a camera, whether it's showing our product, whether it's doing a video for our website, whether it's knocking on doors and just presenting what we can do, because that's how we all started. It's sort of how I did. We were all scared, but you just got to do it. You just got to get the first 10. And then you go from the 10, you do the next 10, right? And that's 20, and then it's 30, and then it's 40 in terms of the times that you try. And I promise you, by the time you've done something 50 times, if that's 50 phone calls, or it's 50 door knocks, or it's 50 videos online, right? I promise you, you'll be so much better, because, even the 10th one is better than the first. I promise you that. The second one will be heaps better than the first one, right? So we all get nervous. We all get anxious. It's about getting out there. I know we see these influencers and we go, they just so natural on TV, or they're so natural on social media. They just know how to present a product. But you didn't see the first 200 videos they did. So yeah, give it a go. And seriously, people love authenticity and genuine interest and care in a product. That's what matters. And if you care about your product, people will be interested.
Okay, we've got another question coming in about, can you go over selling and retailing the product? So I don't know if there's any follow-up sub-questions to this, but perhaps either Jeremy or Carlo, if you'd like to just jump in on this, and any advice for people. No, I don't know where perhaps do you remember the first t-shirts or hoodies that you sold as part of your business? Can you remember back to that wonderful moment when the first transaction came through, and advice of how you'd perhaps start that if you did it from scratch again today?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have that exuberance of a young startup, where you think every client wants everything you have to sell, and you're doing something so different. I think really understanding, going back to that client, but the end consumer, that's the part that a lot of people in our industry forget. They worry about servicing their buyer, but it's that the person at the end of the line that is purchasing this, that is going to be wearing this. And so you need to know who your main demographic is. You need to know their price points. You could have a great product and you come in and you're overpriced and you're not selling. It's because you're selling to the wrong audience. So you have to do a lot of market research before you just, you could set up a store and do print on demand, and that's great. But a lot of people think you make it and people are going to buy it. The industry or the retail space is so crowded that you could be screaming at the top of your lungs and no one will hear you and no one will care. So having that plan ahead of time to know, here's my price points. Am I going to sell through a TikTok shop? Am I going to have a retail presence? Am I going to go to these events? Am I going to go to Facebook groups, for Jeep lovers, and just kind of, be wearing my shirt, when I'm out Jeeping and people can kind of see it. So you really need to know how you're going to sell it, because I'm sure all of you as well, how many brands have come, to our shop and be so excited and have all this money and these big dreams, and then they're not there a year later. So, a lot of it is the barrier to entry is low in our industry, and to really stand out, it's going to take a lot of effort. And, like creating the demand, like Carlos said, social media, you don't have to be sell. You show your process of making, right, of documenting me, us designing and printing this out and going to the screen printer, or if you're doing it yourself, I see so much, and I'm sure Jenna works with, people with the heat press, and they're creating their whole brands, and they're showing people every day what they're doing. So I think the big thing on the selling side is what makes you unique. Where is your marketplace? Because a SAP buyer that is used to buying Ralph Lauren, you try to sell them a no offense, but like a Gildan shirt with a cheap heat transfer, it's not going to resonate with that audience. They're going to be able to tell this isn't the quality I would ever wear in public. So again, knowing where you want to be, what space, you want to be in, and then really focusing on, how are all these brands that are in this space promoting? Is it models? Is it, is it all digital? So really figuring all out in the beginning. And obviously you can just start tomorrow, so do it. But that whole time you need to be educating yourself. Otherwise, you're going to back to your day job and you're not going to have a successful brand, because it's brutal out there.
So one of the topics that panels we have coming up next is all about sustainability. So we have some of the leading blank suppliers going to be joining us for a panel with Jenna to talk about the truth behind sustainability and learning a bit more about it. But just kind of briefly, how much of, not necessarily an issue, but how much of a hot topic is sustainability around the products that you're manufacturing now? And how do you approach that? I mean, it seems in the UK, we're finding that the actual options are a lot more varied now. So you have plenty of great product to actually decorate onto now. But perhaps you could talk to us a little bit about how your current approach to it is, and where you see that growing into the future as well.
Yeah, I can jump in really quick. It's definitely still I don't know about a hot topic, but it's definitely a topic that people still bring up as far as sustainability. And then what is the truth about sustainability? That's the deep question. You want to get super deep. But all we can say is we do our best and we try to control as much as we can when it comes to sustainability. All of our inks, we try to make sure that they're phthalate free, and all the nerdy screen printing terms I can go down. But we try our best to also recycle water. We try to use organic cotton. And so, if it's a brand that really, really has a mission about being eco-friendly, there are definitely ways that we can steer them and guide them to choose the most eco-friendly product that you possibly can, including the print process, water-based inks and things of that nature. But yeah, I definitely think it's still a hot topic. And I think customers and brands really want to know just the story behind what you guys are doing and what efforts you're taking to be sustainable and try to limit waste as much as you possibly can. And we try to do, like I mentioned, that with different ink techniques and recycling the water that we use to clean ink. So yeah, we even on our website, we push a link there with all the things that we try to do from a social aspect and from a environment aspect. So yeah, it's definitely a topic that comes up, and you just try to do your best you can,
So we're starting to wrap up now a little bit. So anyone who has questions for Jeremy, Carlo, Jenna, and Ben, please get them in now quickly, because you will run out of time. But while people are starting to think about anything else they might like to know about before we finish up here, one of the things I'd really love to hear from both of you, Jeremy and Carlo, actually Jenna and Ben, you can jump in as well, but you've had the chance to work with some fantastic brands over the years. But I was really curious, what is the item that you've manufactured and made for one of these brands or acts that you're most proud of? And could you tell us a little bit about the finished product and what it had on it, and what type of decorating it went into, how many prints, the one that you kind of look at, you perhaps have on the wall in the office and think, when you look at it each day, you think, I really did something there.
A recent one for me, we did all the employee gifts for SiriusXM last year, and they, in the years past, they'll do a water bottle or a backpack or tote bag, but we did a whole pitch for them, something outside of the box. And when you're dealing with corporations, it's tough. You have the brand guidelines that don't take apparel into consideration, even though it says don't move your logo here, don't change the color. I don't listen to any of that, because apparel's meant to be worn. The people that are designing this brand or coming up with the branding, they're mainly thinking of digital, and they carry it onto apparel, where apparel needs to have its own little brand guidelines, because if you're going to make it, you want people to wear it. Going to the sustainability as far as, the fast fashion of, if it's not going to resonate with people, they're not going to wear it. They're going to throw it away. It's a waste. It really is a waste of corporate dollars. So they wanted something different. And like I said, on the applique side, we always try to throw it in there because we just love it so much. And they ended up picking that item. And so we ended up using the vintage wash by Lane 7, because, it's a really great price point. And we did a screen print. We did a 3-letter applique distress. So with the laser, we made it look like it was kind of eaten away. It goes back to that old Abercrombie and, just the vintage style. And then we added some really unique, stitches on top of it to make it look like it's been repaired and just not like super clean and cookie cutter. We did a tonal print on the sleeve. Inside neck tag, we did a custom, sticker that kind of talked about the garment, and you got to give that disclaimer. It's meant to be worn. Everyone's different, and we had to ship it out to 5,000 people all across the world, and there was only 2 items that were lost, and so that was our kind of confirmation of, don't give up, what we believe in and what we think is going to be great, because we used a whole hashtag for their gift, and everyone is saying, this is the best gift that we've ever gotten from the company. And there's, they're going to still wear it over and over again. So that was really one of my favorite, even though it was still really simple and clean. It was so different than anything that they've ever received. And again, it was the company's private label merchandise. Even if it is, we know it's Lane 7, you know, it's still their brand, and it's just going to be out there in the world for employees, and who knows, it'll get passed down. Some spouses will end up stealing it. But that's really the confirmation, you know, of we know what we're doing. We are the experts. We need to act and show people that we are, instead of, you know, always taking that direction from the client, because they don't live and breathe this. They're going to make something that might be okay, but it could be up here for not even a lot more money. It's just the way you approach it. So that's my recent favorite.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can give you a quick one.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll sum it up. 25,000 shirts, 6 hours to print. Kanye West, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 2 private jets to get the merch there, 5 passenger flights, 4 Ubers, 14 carrier trucks, and a whole lot of crazy to make it happen.
No big deal.
No big deal. That's just another day in the music industry. But yeah, it's one of those things where you got to get the entire team to believe and understand the purpose of how important a project like that is. But yeah, literally, we got the job just a few hours before the show, and we enlisted all of our machines, all of our buddies that had machines, and just figured out a way to make it happen and delivered it directly to the show in under 24 hours. So that's just another day in the music merch world.
I did a stressful order like that, and like, look at me now, I'm bald. So I gave up on that. On the band side, I was on the receiving end making last minute phone calls. It's, man, bless you guys for making it work.
Okay, we've got time for one very quick question. Is advice for anyone that makes a misprint? Do you save them? Do you find a creative way to make that work? Any advice there for Angelique?
We donate. We try to donate them as much as we possibly can to churches or what have you, just so that we don't destroy them or cut them or burn them. And yeah, I mean, every quarter we'll have, it might be anywhere from 25 to 30 pallets of merch that we'll just donate. That's one way.
Yeah, some clients, I prefer, there's a donation area that actually gives to like some of the poor reservations in the US. Like, in North Dakota, it's really sad, like the poverty they live in. But a lot of people don't want their misprint brand out there. Like there's the incinerator where you can sit and they use it to turn it into power. They incinerate it and it goes to the grid. There's another company here at least in the promotional product space, that he's building a whole brand around that. His name is Ben Grossman. I can't remember it's called Swag Cycle. And he's taking it and, they're either shredding it or figuring out a way to, flip it inside out and reprint and use the garments. But, it's a big issue, especially for big brands. They don't want misprints out in the marketplace, or it'll, get sent to Africa, but, it's such a waste. So I like donating as well.